Lee's not here this morning?
He's coming. He's coming. We dressed separately now.
Is Joan gonna come today?
She's sick.
All right.
She's real sick.
Really? FaceTime thing,
Okay.
Just say the end, we turn everything off and walk out.
Yeah.
Her legs were all.
All right, we're all good? Good, let's go.
She couldn't walk.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Did she go to the doctor?
She said when she texted me
Did she
that
read the Bible?
she
no, this is
was
my old one.
waiting on Sarah to take her.
I just
to
never
the
bring it out.
Urgent care, yeah.
Apparently he needed the big guns today.
I just didn't want to read I use a, this is my, ESV, Lutheran Study Bible. And I've got a nice,
Waited.
um,
I thought so.
non-study Bible. It's I think it's the Aris. I don't remember what it is. It's a slightly different translation. I like it. But it's just different enough that it's, you know, I don't like it. Anyway, I do like it, but when I have to, yeah, it's a whole thing. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the last Sunday of Advent. Man, I don't know. Usually, Advent goes by like crazy. I cannot wait for Christmas. This month has just felt like it's taken forever to get to this point. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm actually very happy that it's the fourth Sunday of Advent. We've got short readings. I guess lectionary people are like, yeah, people, it's close to Christmas. People don't want to sit around and listen to a lot of, make it short and wrap it up. So the gospel is Matthew 1:18-25. This is Joseph getting the message from the angel about Jesus, that he shouldn't divorce her but should remain with her. She'll bear a son and you shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. I'm not preaching on this one partially because I just preached on this on a Wednesday night, 2 weeks ago? Something like that, yeah. The name, right. So, you can talk about it if you want. I'll be preaching on the Old Testament, Isaiah. This is the background of, sort of the background that connects with the gospel. Although in Isaiah, it's, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son and shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. But then it's Jesus, God saves. And but anyway, it's the same, pointing to the same thing. But I chose the Isaiah text primarily for verse 12 because I like this. So the background, I think we talked a little bit about this a week or two ago, is that King Ahaz is king of Judah, so southern kingdom. If you back up to, I'll just read chapter 7. In the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, so Rezin, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, the king of Israel, so you got the king of Syria and the king of Israel, came up to Jerusalem to wage war against it, but could not yet mount an attack against it. So Israel and Syria aligned to attack Judah. Okay? When the house of David was told, Syria is in league with Ephraim, that is Israel, the heart of Ahaz and the heart of his people shook as the trees of the forest shake before the wind. So, there's no confidence here. When Ahaz hears that Israel and Syria are aligned and they're coming to attack, I mean, it's like all confidence is gone. The end is coming. The sky is falling. This is terrible. Bad things are going to happen. They're terrified. So he hears about this, scared to death, and the Lord said to Isaiah, "Go out to meet Ahaz, you and Shear-Jashub, your son, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool on the highway to the washer's field, and say to him, I like this. Be careful. Be quiet. Do not fear. Like, calm down, shut up, and don't be afraid. Which is always good. I honestly, if a prophet came to me and told me to shut up more often, this would probably be a good thing. Do not fear and do not let your heart be faint because of these two smoldering stumps of firebrands. So, he's terrified of this mighty, combined army. God calls them smoldering stumps. So, in God's purview, they're already defeated. They're already cut down. These two mighty trees have already been cut down and burnt. They're smoldering. So there's nothing to be afraid of. These guys, there's nothing. So don't be afraid at the fierce anger of Rezin and Syria, the son of Remaliah. Because Syria, with Ephraim and the son of Remaliah, has devised evil against you, saying, let us go up against Judah and terrify it, and let us conquer it for ourselves, and set up the son of Tabeel as king in the midst of it. Thus says the Lord God. So he says, don't be afraid. I know God does things his way. I would do things differently. But I do appreciate the way he says, don't be afraid of these two smoldering stumps. Just because they said they're going to come against you and conquer you and install their own king. So basically, he tells Ahaz exactly what their plans are. The plans that he's afraid of. So he's kind of reinforcing, hey, guess what's going to happen? Or guess what they're planning? And meanwhile, Ahaz is like, ah. So it's really? My instinct would be don't remind him. Just give him the comfort. But, this is good stuff. God's ways are better. So God says, here's the plans against you. Hear what God says. It shall not stand. It shall not come to pass. It's not going to happen. The head of Syria is Damascus. The head of Damascus is Rezin. And, here's the thing. And within 65 years, Ephraim will be shattered from being a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria. And the head of Samaria is the son of Remaliah. If you are not firm in faith, you will not be firm at all. So again, God's comfort is always it's in God's plan. Because he says, look, it's not going to happen, which is good, and it doesn't, so that's true. But he also points out, hey, don't worry, in 65 years, these guys are going to be gone. It's
That won't take long.
yeah, it's Ahaz is not going to be alive in 65 years. It's oh, good. Well, at least I'll be dead. So yeah, it's this weird comfort that comes from trusting in God's plans. Hey, God says this is the comfort. It might take some time, whatever. But the point is, he's saying, trust in me. Don't trust with your eyes, even if bad things happen. Trust in me. It's the same message that goes out to right before the Babylonian exile. Yeah, you guys are going away. Jeremiah, for God knows, for He has plans for you. God knows the plans He has for you, plans to prosper you as you go off into exile for your whole lifetime. God plays the long game. But the point is, it's not about what you see. It's not even about what your experiences are day to day. You're supposed to trust Him in all things, no matter what. And this is what God is saying. He's trust in me. I've got salvation coming. Now, if we want to jump ahead, we're going to have the Emmanuel, God with us. The ultimate salvation that God is really alluding to is through Jesus Christ. And that's not going to happen for another 700 years for the people. So it's definitely trust God. Don't freak out. Will bad things happen? Yes, no. Doesn't matter. No. Trust God. He is with you. And that's the whole point is, how can you trust God? How can you be? Because Emmanuel, God with us. That's the thing. So that's where we pick up today's text with what we have in our handout here. So again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz. Ask a sign of the Lord your God. Let it be deep as Sheol or high as heaven. So Sheol is essentially hell or the grave. So if you ever see that in the Old Testament, just that. So when he says as deep as Sheol or as high as heaven, he's just saying anything. Ask for any sign you want. This is the greatest blank check you could ever receive. So and usually, God doesn't necessarily, think about Jesus where like, give us this, what sign will you give us? He's like, I'm not giving you a sign. So it's pretty remarkable that God does offer him the opportunity here. 1 second. Okay, anyway. But Ahaz said, verse 12, I will not ask, and I will not put the Lord to the test. Very pious. I don't want to test the Lord. We're not supposed to test the Lord. And in fact, the fun thing is he's quoting Deuteronomy, where God told his people, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test. The fun thing about that is if you go to where that's quoted in Deuteronomy, the fuller context, and right before that is a part where God is basically telling his people, like, hey, trust in me, because remember when I delivered you out of Egypt? Remember when I delivered you out of the hands of Pharaoh? Remember when I brought you out of the hands of your enemy? And you can trust in me, and you need to remember that. Always remember that so that you turn to me. And then it goes to a section, he's like, but trust me, don't put the Lord your God to the test. And continues on. So in the context of God reminding his people, like, hey, I've saved you out of the clutches of death before. Hey, I've brought you from your enemies. And Ahaz uses that do not put the Lord your God to the test in the midst of his enemies at his doorstep. So this is the same kind of feeling as like when the Sanhedrin is calling for Jesus to crucify him, or Jesus to be crucified, and like, oh, his blood be on us and on our children. Like, do you know what you're saying? Like, you don't get what you're saying. Ahaz is kind of similar thing. He doesn't quite put it together. But the thing is, what I'll point out in the sermon is that he doesn't say this to be holy. He's not trying to be like, oh, I'm a humble servant of God. I can't put my God to the test. He's saying this because he's already aligned with Assyria. That's Assyria. Assyria is the big. They're the bad guys. They're taking over everything. Back then, at this point, Assyria is at probably the height of its power, or thereabouts. The general feeling about Assyria was they're unstoppable. You don't even try to resist them, because the speed at which they would go through and take over countries, how they I think Egypt was a big one, where they just came in and whoa. They were ruthless. They liked torture. They liked mass executions. They liked mass deportations. Their specialty, which is what they would do to Israel, was they'd pull you out of your land and disperse you all throughout their empire. Like not just like the Babylonians brought a lot of the Israelites or the people of Judah into Babylon and resettled them there. Assyria just disperse you all throughout the area in order to just eliminate your culture, to wipe out any little remnants of whoever you were. They were great people. They were. I think there were relief murals that were found from one of their keeps or whatever that show how they would put heads on pikes outside their gates and this pile of bodies and whatnot. They used good psychological warfare where and they did this to Judah where they come and before they were going to kick your butt, they would send out their emissary and would speak to the people in their language so that the commoners could hear and understand. They wouldn't go and try to address the king and speak their, well, I'm not going to lower myself to speak Hebrew. You're not going to speak your tongue, you're going to speak my tongue. No, they'd speak so that everybody could hear, loud enough so everybody could hear. So make sure all the commoners knew what was coming. So yeah, they were a nasty bunch of people. So Ahaz had already pretty much made his agreement with them. Please protect us, O Assyria, and leave us alone afterwards. That doesn't work. Eventually after Assyria is like, yeah, sure, we'll protect you. 30 some odd years go by, and then Assyria is like, yeah, we're coming and taking all your stuff. This ultimately is just it's a deal with the devil is essentially what it is. But Ahaz has already decided to do it. This is his scheme, his plan, and at this point he could say like, oh no, I have sinned. I have trusted in Assyria and not our God. I shall repent and break things off. It's an option. He doesn't follow it. And we know this because we know this, but also that God's response here is, "Hear then, O house of David, is it too little for you to weary men that you weary my God also?" So Isaiah is like, why? You're wasting my time, now you're wasting God's time. You're wearying God with your false piety. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. So if you don't want a sign, too bad. The Lord has given you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, shall call his name Emmanuel. He shall eat curds and honey when he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. For before the boy knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land whose two kings you dread will be deserted. The Lord will bring upon you, upon your people, and upon your father's house. Such days have not come since the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, the king of Assyria. So fun stuff. So essentially, all the stuff, we usually focus on the Emmanuel thing, and we point that, directly to the Gospels, where it's like, this is Jesus. It is. So it's like he starts off with, behold, the sign is salvation is coming. The part about, eating curds and honey, refusing the evil, choosing the good, what does this mean? All this means is that is also referring to the point that this is going to all be resolved within a lifetime. Like, big picture, Jesus is coming in 700 years. But for you, just know that within a very short period of time, in less than a single generation, the land these two kings you dread will be deserted. So God's going to take care of them in a very short amount of time. You can trust in that. And the fulfillment in the big picture is going to be Jesus, right? And that's exactly what happens. So there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good gospel connections. But I focus on verse 12 because this is very relatable to me, at least. Just the hesitation to trust God or not go to him first. I got this. I can handle this. I don't need to turn to God for this. Usually because it's like, this is, God's there for the big stuff. God's there for when there's a death, when there's like really, really bad stuff, when you get, when you're in the hospital. God's not for the like, oh no, this bad thing happened today. It's not a huge bad thing, but it kind of screwed up my schedule. It's like, that's nothing. You don't need God for that. You don't need God for all the little things. You just need God for the big things. Obviously, that's wrong. We need God for all things. But the problem is that when we get into the habit of saying, I can do this all myself and I don't need God for the small things, we tend to then not go to God for the big things either. And believe me, I know this. I pound this one all the time, is how many times I've had people tell me after the fact, like, oh, I was in the hospital. Oh, I was close to death. Why didn't you call me? What could you have done? It's like, okay, granted, I couldn't have I could have come and prayed with you. And usually, I think in almost every case I've ever had that happen, the person has said like, oh, well, okay. And it comes down to, well, I didn't want to disturb you. But I think one person actually did say at one, and it's nobody here, like nobody in here. It was like, well, why didn't you call me? well, what could you have done? I could have come and prayed with you. Well, that wouldn't have done anything. And it wasn't like the disbelieving the power of prayer, but just like, no, it's like, no, it was just like, it burst and whatever. And so it's like, prayer's not going to, the doctors had to fix it. Like, oh my God, okay. So it's just a common thing. It happens. And I'm going to share my story that I'll share in the sermon, which actually connects with Jim's Thanksgiving message, which I was paying attention.
Were you?
Mm-hmm.
Wonder what I said.
You passed the test.
All right.
I guarantee you. Ask me 5 minutes after the sermon. What did you just preach about? I don't know. Jesus.
Jesus.
No, but the story, and it was wild. So last Sunday, it was very nice. Carolyn comes up and says the congregation has given us these nice little monetary gifts for Christmas. It was awesome. And of course, as soon as I get down, I'm thinking like, ooh, what are we going to do? Like, ooh, how am I going to? Maybe we can go do this. Maybe I can buy more Big which is realistically what most of us are going to go to anyway. But no, I was thinking like, ooh, okay, cool, fun times. Well, if you're not on Facebook, and if you're not, good job. Monday morning, as Heather's getting ready to fly out to San Antonio for a week, she's getting ready downstairs. I get a text from her while I'm upstairs. I love these texts. Come down here, we have a problem. I'm like, okay, fantastic. So I come downstairs and she's looking at a ceiling tile. She's like, it's leaking, and I see a drop. I'm like, oh, good. So I move the ceiling tile, and sure enough, there's a copper pipe, and there's just this little bit of, it looks like condensation in a joint, and it just very slowly, I'm like, okay, fantastic. And I thought for a moment, maybe I just wrap some stuff around it, it's fine. Again, I can handle this. I got this, no big deal. But then, the smarter part of my brain said, might be bigger. Probably best to get a plumber. So, and I already started thinking like, oh, now I've got to pay for a plumber. And I'm thinking like, I already had I had Big B already budgeted from this nice little gift that I got. And now I got to spend it on a freaking plumber. Call the plumber, blah, blah, blah. So plumber comes, he's like, oh yeah, and he touches the pipe, and he's like, ooh, yeah, that's soft. I'm like, soft? And I'm like, how do pipes get soft? I reach out and touch it, and I'm like, oh my God, that's a soft pipe. Like, I've never experienced that where...
I didn't know copper pipes got soft.
Well, apparently after 50 some odd years, they can. So yeah, it felt honestly like that.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, oh yeah, see this one over here, that one's fine. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a pipe. And he's like, nope. So he cuts it down, replaces it with PVC, but he cuts it down and he's looking at it and he's showing, he's like, oh yeah, see, and he's poking at it. He's like, see, here's the hole. Here's where it was dripping. And as he's pointing at it, he puts a little bit of pressure on it and his finger goes right through. And it's just like the whole little stretch of pipe goes like torn paper. I'm like, well, okay, cool.
She's like, I'm going to Band-Aid on it now.
But see, the thing is, and it took, and I took to my credit, this is no credit, this is my shame, is it probably took me a good half hour, 45 minutes to get over the whole grumbling about having to pay a plumber to fix this issue out of my gift money, my special Big B money. And I was just so angry about that until I was like, or maybe, I mean, it's not like the plumbing or the pipe all of a sudden that morning was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna, like, this was an issue that had been an issue, was about to be an issue, but clearly had become, I mean, it was an issue on Sunday. It was an issue 2 months ago.
Sounds like somebody's bathroom project.
Sunday, before I even knew there was a problem, God already provided the solution.
Yep.
And provided for me. Well, and provided for me. So it took me a good half hour, 45 minutes to like, oh, I guess I should be, instead of looking at it like, there goes my biggies. I'm looking at it like, wow, God actually, literally, God through this church provided the solution to my problem. Maybe I should be like, instead of being like, meh, this didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen, I should be like, wow, God took care of me. Us. Huh. That's something to be thankful for. Which is what Jim was getting to with in his sermon, was like, when you get the, I need a car, and you get the bus pass instead of the new car. It's like, well, you got transportation, but it's not the transportation I want. It's like, I wanted more Big B, which I don't need more Big B. But anyway, I wanted more Big B. I've got shelves in there of books that I need to take down for more cups.
When God decides to burn down your
Right,
then
right.
you'll be getting a clear message.
But I mean, that was the thing. So even like, that was the good reminder for me, and where, it's like, even after the fact, where I'm tempted, even in the midst of being provided for, being like, but, like, all right, God, fine.
You're lucky that it happened the way that it
Oh.
did, because it could have been
Absolutely.
a disaster. I mean, the
100%.
leak could have burst when nobody was home.
100%.
You would have had a horrible, horrible mess.
Uh-huh.
Much more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
I mean, God really took care of you.
Despite my absolute everything I do against it, yes. Oh, 100%. Definitely.
This will add to the blessing, but I'm just curious, how quickly were you able to get a plumber to come out and look at it?
Oh, a couple hours.
That's,
Yeah, well, I called one, and I had to leave a message. I thought, I saw one that was like right a couple miles down the road. I called them, and they answered right away. I'm like, yeah, so got this issue. Oh, well, we can get someone out to you in a couple hours. Sweet. Yeah. I don't know if it was because, I mean, it hasn't been leaking, so I assume they're fine. Hey, Paul, you want to come over and check something out?
Me as a plumber.
I don't know. I mean, well,
However, it does sound like a drain pipe, not
yeah.
wasn't under pressure.
No, it wasn't under pressure. But I don't know. I'm at that point now where it's like, you send this kid over to fix it. I mean, come on. I'm sure the guy was in his late 20s, early 30s, but I'm like, well, you're too young to do this stuff. What do you know? How do you know what you're doing?
That's why everyone's an
Yeah. But anyway, so that's I'll share that story in the service, which I mean is also kind of an underscoring, like, hey, thank you, congregation, for living out God and reaching out.
What did God have to say about your car battery the next day?
Oh yeah, well that was.
Was he just rubbing in the lesson at that point?
Oh yeah, he was because I said it took me a while, and I was still kind of salty, even though because in the car on Monday I was driving Christine somewhere, because I've been and complaining about I realized this is probably not the right message for my daughter. So I said, now listen, and I explained to her, like, this is how I need to look at it. This God has provided, and this is a good thing. She's like, she nods, yes. I'm like, I'm still not happy about it. So I was still kind of salty. So yeah, the next morning I go out, try to turn over the van, battery's dead. I'm like, okay, you've provided. Like,
telling you about it.
yeah, he's like, because you didn't get it the first time. And honestly, I was a lot more, honestly, the Tuesday, I was definitely more in the frame of mind like, well, hey, okay, all right, let's just roll with this. Because, all right, I wasn't thinking about Big B's anymore. I was like, okay, let's roll with this, because I don't want to see what's going to happen Wednesday. I need to learn my lesson before, because I knew Wednesday was going to be service. So I'm like, I'm going to slip on some ice or something. So no, I don't need that. But yeah, trust in God. It's always a good option.
Everybody's too afraid to speak now. They don't wanna go back to their homes and find out what's broken.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's why I want the plumber's name.
I don't remember who it was. It was, they're down on Sand Hill Road over towards Hagedorn.
Okay, the address is Sand Hill Road, so I can just Google
I
Sand
think so,
Hill
yeah.
Road? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and like I pulled up, I was picking I was dropping Christine off somewhere, and I came back right when they showed up, and like I'm pulling up, and there's this big white van in my driveway, like no signs on it or anything. Like usually you think like, oh, it has their, no, it was just like this nondescript white van. I'm like, okay, and this young guy pops out. I'm like, okay, but no, it's like they got there quick. I'm like, okay, we took care of it nice and quick. He was in and out. It was awesome. I'm like, all right. Perfect. Yes.
I have a question
Sure.
about the transition between verse 14 and 15.
14, 15, yes.
Like, how do you know that he's switching time frames and talking about something different? You know, if you're just reading this on your own,
Right. Well,
how would
yeah,
you pick
that's
up on that?
and that's the thing. How do you know? Well, it's the contention here is that there's some people who point like, well, the Hebrew word there for virgin could very well mean just young woman, maiden. And it was like, okay, well, true, the word can mean that. However, even in saying like, well, it could just mean young girl or maiden. Even the context of that is like, well, we're talking about the reference would be young, unmarried, like undefiled kind of imagery there. But even that is like, well, if he's giving him a sign, the woman shall conceive and bear a son is like not really a sign, but okay. But then calling his name Emmanuel is like, okay, he's God with us. So this is okay. So we'll hold off on or we'll say, okay, maiden virgin shall conceive and bear a son, call his name Emmanuel, God with us. Which at that time, you go back and say, well, was there anybody at that time who you could point to in the history of Isaiah and Ahaz and all that? Well, no, nobody fits that qualification. And then you jump to the Gospels where it does point to this, and then talk about like God with us and all this good stuff. It's like, okay, so the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, she'll call his name Emmanuel, God with us, Jesus is God with us. So we draw those connections right there. Cool. He shall eat curds and honey when he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. Well, right there is like, well, if we're talking about Jesus completely, it's like, well, then now this doesn't make sense.
That sounds like John the Baptist.
Kind of, yeah, the curds and honey thing. Knowing how to refuse the evil, choose the good. So yeah, that doesn't fit Jesus. And then we back it up. For before the boy knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land whose two kings you dread will be deserted. So yeah, it's you definitely get this weird shift there. So if you're reading it like by yourself, you would connect that with Jesus first, then you see, well, there is a disconnect there with that second portion. So what does that mean? Are we looking for somebody in particular, refusing evil and choosing good? So it's just saying like, okay, so within this small period of time where from a child being born to a child, coming to of age where, whatever, within this time frame, these two kings are going to be toast. Their lambs done, whatever. They're taken care of.
It's strange that he puts Emmanuel in there, and at the time, I remember from Jim's class, we did the promises of the Messiah in the Old Testament, people wouldn't have understood, what in the world is he talking about? I mean, in hindsight, as
Right.
Christians, we look back and go, oh yeah, Emmanuel, sure, the virgin, so he said Jesus, obviously, to us,
Mm-hmm.
but not to them.
Well, but you have to think about it, then God with us. I mean, he's implying that he's gonna be with them throughout whatever. Now, would they recognize that it's a baby born in Bethlehem?
No.
Around that time? No, they would not recognize that, but they would
Right.
recognize God's continued presence with whoever they think it's talking to.
I think it's similar to what we would experience now with, how like in hindsight you can look back and say, oh, I see where God was working now when I didn't realize He was working then. Because whereas we might not have that word like audibly spoken to us through a prophet that says something weird, we definitely have lived through weird things where we say, well, God's clearly not in this. This is hell that I'm going through. And then later on you're like, oh, God was there. Like you can only understand a lot of things in hindsight. So like for them, yeah, they wouldn't have gotten a manual. Like, okay.
But His presence has always, Lord has always promised His presence with
Right.
Israel.
Right.
So He did, Isaiah obviously, He's not losing His audience here.
Right. No, he's talking, here is like when the time period, like this is when the two kings will be deserted, like within that lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So he's saying, look, so he's prophesying of Christ. It's going through this, like, oh yeah, in this time period, these will be deserted because there's a promise being sent through it.
I have promised to do the
Pastor,
exact words.
was it the Pax Romana? Did the Romans get rid of the other two empires?
No, this was well before that. Way before that.
Okay.
No,
but
Babylon.
when Jesus came,
Right.
the Romans were in control.
Yes.
And Pastor Schrader used to say, that helped spread the word of
Oh, sure.
Jesus, because there was this
Oh yeah.
Pax Romana. I mean, it was a good time.
Oh yeah. At the right time, Christ came to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. This was at this point, Assyria was the big one. So Assyria, when they reach their zenith and then they start to decline, Babylon, like at this point, Babylon is nothing. Babylon is barely a thing right now.
Oh, okay.
But as Assyria kind of rises and then begins their decline, Babylon is like, zoop. So Babylon is the one who comes and kicks their butt.
Okay. So who kicks Babylon's butt?
Persia.
Persia?
Mm-hmm.
And the Greeks.
And then
Yeah.
when do the Romans finally get over there?
Well, yeah, it's the Persians and the Greeks, Alexander the Great, and then Rome comes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's good times. Yeah.
Time marches.
Lest we don't learn from history, there's always somebody ready to take over.
Yeah.
No empire lasts forever, which
Yep.
is always a good thing to remember. Even in these modern times, we are just a blip in that whole timeline.
Yep.
But yeah, by the time Jesus arrives, especially with just the way Rome rises up, takes over, the way they handle things. Because like you look at like the way Assyria and Babylon did things, and it was very much like, no, we're going to either integrate you or decimate you, and like we're going to lose your whole culture, whatever. Greece, I mean, they kind of, I don't know how much of a live and let live kind of way they did things. It wasn't quite like they did it. But then by the time Rome comes around, they are very much like, hey, you know what? Do your own thing. Worship your own gods. We don't care. Just so long as you always give deference to Caesar and you pay your taxes. If you do that, and we can trust you, yeah, do your thing. And if we can't, well, we'll install a governor. We'll install some troops. We'll do this. And so they, the way Rome handled things did create a situation where it's like, you know what? So Christianity can pop up and all of a sudden exist and thrive even. How in the timeline of Acts, the Jews were very much against, Christianity spreading because they regarded it as a blasphemous, heretical thing. Meanwhile, when Rome, whenever it bubbles up all the way to Rome, they're like, what do we care? Like, this is your problem. We don't care. Are they advocating, rebellion against Rome? And the Jews are like, well, either like no or yeah they are. And then they talk to like Paul, and he's like, I'm a Roman. I pay my taxes. Yeah, I get it, but we're not talking. This is a Jewish thing. And the Roman would be like, oh yeah, fine. We're not dealing with it. So the way Rome dealt with stuff, I mean, was perfect for Christianity to take root and and just a system of roadways and just everything. It was a perfect time for it to go out and flourish, and before the Roman Empire collapses, right in that time frame. So, yeah, it was almost like it was planned out and perfect that way.
Probably was.
Maybe like a pipe ready to burst. One of these days, I will learn my lesson, but it's not today. I'm destined to be a living sermon illustration for you.
Did you say here in the very last verse that Ephraim, we can read that as Israel,
Yes.
the split of Israel and Judah?
Yeah. Whenever you're reading like in this section, if it talks about Ephraim, just read that as Israel. Ephraim was just one of the tribes that was kind of the bigger, more powerful, kind of took over things. So
Samaria, the whole area.
yeah, and Samaria too. I remember growing up, I never made the connection with I always hear Samaria, and it was like, oh, well. First of all, it took me a long time to connect Samaria and Samaritans. When I found out oh, that makes sense. But then, because I always heard you read the Gospel Samaritans, nobody likes Samaritans. They're evil, bad, whatever. They're from Samaria. Okay, fine. It took me a while before I made that connection. Wait, Samaria was the capital of Israel. Samaritans are actually just, to the Jews back then, they were corrupted Israelites, but they were all connected. So yeah, Samaria, whenever it talks about Samaria, just kind of substitute Israel. Ephraim, Israel. Or if it talks about one of the kings, just, Israel. Pekah, Remaliah, all that is just, as the king goes, so does the country. Well, fun stuff. All right. If you need a plumber, let me know. I got a good one. They're very responsive.
They were for you that day.
We need a
Was that?
responsible.
They were, yeah. You know what?
That day they were.
I think God knew that if he didn't provide something quick, I was going to spiral out of control real quick.